Hi, this is Tom Soane, and I just wanted to get your thoughts, if you don't mind, on a brand new service that I'm launching later this week. And look, to put it in a nutshell, it's called Landlord to Landlord Sales, and it's really obvious what that is, but there's a little bit more to it than that, and which is why I wanted to get your feedback, get your thoughts on what you would like me to include in that service, so that hopefully we can help more and more landlords that would make use of that service. So look, let me just quickly summarize it in a nutshell. I know lots of landlords that want to sell their property. Now, if you're a landlord and you've got a tenanted property and you want to sell it, then quite often it's more favorable or more appealing to the broader market if that property is vacant and not tenanted. But that makes a problem for the landlord, because then you have to go through that whole process of evicting a tenant, and then you have to tie that whole process, that eviction process, in with the completion. And you can't really complete, because if the buyer wants to buy it vacant, then you can't really complete the sale until the tenant has moved out. Then you might run into some problems with the tenant moving out, and right now we're in lockdown. So you can't evict a tenant right now anyway. The government have just extended the eviction ban. So this is causing loads of problems for landlords that just want to sell their rental property. And I know there are lots of you. I've got lots of landlords that want to sell their properties, and that for me is where there's a bit of an opportunity for property investors and for landlords that want to continue buying property. So the problem that the landlord that needs to sell is facing is that they can only then advertise, if the tenant's in it, they can only then advertise the property to other property investors, or to people that are willing to wait for a period of time before that property is empty. Hence why it becomes a little bit more challenging if you're looking to buy a property that's vacant, because then the process is extended. Now, on the other side of all of that, you've then got property investors and landlords that want to buy investment properties, and they might well want to buy a property that's already tenanted, that you can see that the rent is coming in from day one, and that the tenant has already been referenced, already been checked out. We can see a solid history for that tenant, and if they're managed by an agent, there's even more information for you to access as a buyer of an investment property. And I know that a lot of the times there's more problems here. A tenant that's living in a property is often the last to know that the property is being sold. Now, if you're a tenant, try and picture this yourself. If you're a tenant and you're living quite happily in your 3-bed house, and you've been there for a good few years and you've made it your home, and then you see your property advertised for sale on Rightmove, that's going to make you uneasy. You're going to wonder what's going on. You're going to wonder whether I'm going to have to leave. Is another buyer going to want to move in? Are they going to want to find their own tenants? So you just don't know. And regardless of whether the agent or the landlord might put your mind at rest as a tenant, you still don't know. There is that bit of unease. Now let's take it further. Let's imagine you're that tenant and you've got 20 viewers walking around your house over the period of a couple of months, and that's quite inconvenient. It's really off-putting. It makes it much more difficult in the long run, and it's just not fair. I don't think it's fair anyway. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. But so what we have here is a bit of an opportunity for both sides. Number one, you've got the selling landlord would probably prefer, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is where I want to ask you, the selling landlord would probably prefer to be able to sell without going on the market, without having to go through the whole eviction process, without having to provide vacant possession on the property, and without risking their tenants' comfort, security, happiness, and because that then risks the chances of lack of rent, other issues with the property. Now, I'm not saying that's definitely what's going to happen, but I'm saying that increases the risk a little bit of problems happening along the line. And then from selling it, it then makes the sale process quicker if you are a selling landlord and you sell to another landlord. And then from the buying landlord's perspective, and please let me know your feedback on this, from the buying landlord's perspective, you get to see what the opportunity is and what the risk is and what the history is of that tenant and of the property. Because you can look into things like, number one, has the tenant paid their rent on time every month? Great, that's really useful information. Number two, the referencing from that tenant. You can actually see what the historic referencing was of that specific tenant rather than having to find a whole new tenant and do whole new referencing, and the risk goes up, doesn't it? Because then you don't know what that tenant's really like. But also you get to buy a ready-made, packaged up property deal. And all right, look, I'm ignoring whether the selling landlord might take a lower offer to try and just offload that property. Maybe they're in financial difficulty. That's a whole different thing. I'm just talking about a straight landlord to landlord sale. So the buying landlord doesn't have to worry so much about finding a tenant because there's one already there. They don't have to worry about waiting around for vacant possession. And then if you do get a property on the market, if you do get a property that you can buy that's already tenanted, you don't have to worry that when you complete it, you're going to have to wait for a period of time for a tenant to move in. So there could be a good couple of months where property purchase completes and then tenant moves in. And that's a couple of months worth of mortgage payments, a couple of months worth of insurance payments, a couple of months worth of lack of rent. So I think this is a win-win. And I think that the landlords that I know that want to sell a property, that maybe need to release some cash, maybe they want to invest in more property, maybe they are finding it difficult to sustain themselves financially through this lockdown period. I think that selling landlords would really enjoy or prefer an outlet where they can find another landlord, where there's no chain involved, where they don't have to go through the eviction process, where they don't have to worry about risking their tenant's security and happiness. I'd be really interested to find out what you think of that, whether you think that's a good service to provide, whether you'd be interested in that service, whether you know someone who's trying to get out of a rental property. Maybe they just need to release the equity, but you can't sell it to a first-time buyer when it's got a tenant in. You can't sell it to a family that are looking to move into a property if it's got a tenant in, especially right now with this eviction ban. So I've got, personally, and I'm not trying to sell this service to you, I genuinely want your thoughts so that I can make sure when I launch it, it is properly good, it is spot on to what everybody wants. Because I've got a lot of landlords that are saying to me right now, I want to buy a rental property. And if I ever suggest, what about a rental property that's already got a tenant in it, that's already earning money? Yeah, that'd be perfect. It's a real appealing thing. And then same for selling landlords. I've got selling landlords that are saying, look, could you try and sell this to another landlord, to another investor? Absolutely, yes. Now, here's a little hidden gem. If you can pick up a rental property where the rent hasn't been increased for the last couple of years, then you are onto an investment goldmine. All right, we're not talking millions of pounds here, but you might be able to pick up a rental property that currently rents out for £750 a month, but the true rent value is £800 a month. You then know you've got an investment. You buy it for what it is now. You're not buying it for what it could be. You're buying it for as it is now. And you set your offer based on that price that it is now, the rent income. And then you know that I can increase the rent by 50 quid down the line. So there's a good increase in my return on investment. So what I really want to know from you guys, if you don't mind sharing your thoughts on it, number one, is that a good service to offer to selling landlords and buying landlords? Do you think that's something that people would be interested in? Number two, what would you add to that service to really make it valuable to a buying landlord who wants to invest in a buy-to-let property that's ready to go, packaged up, deal done, don't need to put any effort in, just go? And also for the selling landlord, what additional services can I offer to the selling landlord that would make it a real appealing and valuable service to them, so that they feel more comfortable, more confident in selling that rental property without going fully on the market. You just sell to the existing property investors, existing landlords that want a buy-to-let property. What else can I offer to that landlord selling and that landlord buying? Be really interested in your thoughts on that. And lastly, do you know anyone that would be interested in that sort of thing, that perhaps isn't currently following me, or that has never read anything I've done or viewed anything I've done? Because I really would be interested in people outside of our little community that maybe don't know me and haven't heard me waffling on about stuff, to find out their thoughts too. Or hey, maybe you know someone that wants to sell a rental property or wants to buy a rental property. Look, I'm probably speaking on behalf of a lot of people here, in that I've got loads of landlords right now and loads of property investors right now that are talking to me, talking to my team and saying, please find me a buy-to-let property. I want to invest my money. It's just sat in the bank doing nothing. I need to invest it. And so many people are worried about risk. I think this service minimizes that risk. So many people are worried about putting their money in the right place and worried about the history of the tenant or worried about getting the right tenant. I think this solves that. And then on the selling side, so many people are worried about, geez, do I have to kick my tenant out? I just need to sell the property. I just need to get the money out, the equity out. But damn, I have to kick that tenant out and go through that whole process. What if they make it difficult? There's so many people worried about that sort of thing. So please, could you let me know your thoughts? That'd be really helpful to me. And look, I'm sorry I can't give you any money for your thoughts, but hopefully you're in a real helpful mood and you just want to help me out in launching this product and this service, just to make sure it's as successful as it can be. I think it can help a lot of people. I definitely think that. So look, I'm ready. I'm at the point where I'm ready to launch it later this week. This is the final bit. Just want to make sure I get the thoughts right from my little community here of you guys, property investors and landlords. And I've been working with my lawyer to make sure that we can get that part right. I've been working with my accountant to make sure we can get that part right. I've been working with my team to make sure we're getting the message right, because I really want this to help as many landlords get out of trouble and as many property investors get into property in a safe way. And that's the key, isn't it? That's the dream. Invest in property, make money, be safe, and know that your property that you've bought is a good one. The tenant that's moved in is a good one. And you're not just going to buy a property, sit on it for 6 months, they're doing nothing whilst you're making mortgage payments and taking no rent or whatever it may be. And this is, I think, a really, really good way to do it. So let me know. Look, as always, pop a comment below here or send me a message, just inbox me. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I'll reply to every inbox I can. I'll get quite a lot. So I get quite a lot of messages. So if I take an hour or 2 or 3 to get back to you, then just bear with me. I promise I'll reply. Or you can email me, tom@pinkstreet.co.uk, if you don't know that by now. That's my company, by the way, Pink Street. We're it. So just drop me an inbox, drop me an email, pop a comment in below here. And do you know what? Let's see if we can help as many landlords as possible that might need a service like this. So here we go, landlord to landlord sales. It's going to go live later this week. So keep an eye out for that. And anything that you think I can help you with, please let me know. I will not charge you for my advice. I will not charge you for my training or my tips. I just want to make sure that if you're investing in property, you're doing it right. And I want everybody to be an anonymous landlord. I want that for free. I don't charge for my training. I don't charge for my advice. I don't charge for my tips. I definitely don't charge for my opinions, and you'll get loads of them. But if you think I can help anyone, please let me know. And other than that, I will speak to you later.